Right, so Ryan's been in a car crash.
Oh, car crash, it's like... It's a shunt.
A shunt.
Someone shunted.
You were rear-ended.
Someone, yes.
That's an American word. That's not... They don't say that over here, do they?
If you've been rear-ended.
I thought rear-ended was like American.
We've been recording all of 30 seconds and I
Fender
forgot how to
bender.
talk. Oh man,
that
you've been in
mean?
a little fender bender.
Is that?
It's when your fender has been bended.
What's a fender?
It's a bumper. I thought it was just like your front bumper.
I don't know.
For me, a fender's a guitar, but
I thought that. But
Yeah.
I've heard that in American sitcoms. Fender bender.
yeah.
Yeah, I did. I was in a fender bender.
Was it with the taxi?
No, it was with a van, actually. I did feel quite sorry for him because he'd just picked it up. He'd literally like been in the van 10 minutes. It was brand new.
21 plate.
Yep.
So we've got somebody new joining us for the podcast today in Lauren 2.0, which is our new marketing executive. Little
Slash
Welsh
producer.
person. Little Welsh producer. Go on, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Erin.
You made
Hi,
that
Eric.
really awkward for her. I hate when
Made
people
that
do
so
that. When
awkward.
someone goes, go on, just introduce yourself, I always just freeze and go, what the heck do I say?
You've taken over social media for What Time You On Till, which not really done much at the moment, have you?
You didn't have an account. I made the account.
Yeah, to be fair, you did make a call the accounts, but I think that's going to be our Crap Sweets competition this month. Something to do, like and share. If you like
Yeah.
and share the new social media pages, you never know. You might get. Maybe we should offer more than one box of Crap Sweets.
Well, do we have anyone that won the last ones?
We do, and it's a previous winner.
Oh, is
was
it?
Yeah, it's Fiona. Fiona Orford.
Oh, right.
Yeah, won it again. To be honest,
Maybe
I can't
she's-
remember what the competition.
Was it not to do with baby vomit?
No, it was nappies.
Nappies, that was it, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what a guess was, but I remember reading the submission and think, how have you got that?
Yeah, that's pretty
Like,
accurate.
yeah, it was. And I'd just like to clarify as well, last time we did the podcast, I said the children hadn't been sick on me at all. That is no longer the case. Oh, there's been lots.
Is that why you've got holes in your top? Because all
Yeah.
those are covered in baby vomit.
Literally, I'll go home, get sicked on, change my top, get sicked on, and then I'm like, I can't just keep going through clothes at this rate. I'm just going to have to...
Have you ever thought of just giving a couple away? Surely
Children?
one's enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
just pick your favourite.
Yeah, I was going to send
I
one
thought
to
you
each of
meant
my...
give you baby vomit clothes away. I was like,
No, they're
Well,
important.
Instead of crap sweets,
yeah.
you get a baby
Yeah, you get a
vomit
JP
stained
vomit.
Yeah,
t-shirt.
competition this month, some baby stained...
Yeah, I feel like that's a good idea, though. I think that's a good idea. Get like and share.
Yeah,
what
like
are we
and
on?
share.
What are we on? What social media have we got now?
We've got LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah.
And we've got YouTube. We're going to have some
What do we want
content
then?
going out on YouTube.
Do we want them to like and share something on Twitter? I'll retweet something on Twitter. Sorry.
Yeah, well, we're going to be having a lot of video content this time around. We've actually committed to the video, haven't we? We've got an interview that we've recorded, and we're going to be filming this one. So I think liking and sharing the page itself, share anything. Get
What
us out
page,
there.
though?
Yeah, what are the handles?
That's
Aaron?
what I mean. We can't get them to. We can't get them to like every. I mean, it'd be nice if they did follow us on
Just
everything.
like everything.
But
No.
I feel like we need to focus on one of them and give them like if you retweet the tweet that this
If you
this
retweet the
episode
tweet,
goes out
tweet,
with,
yeah.
and then
Well,
follow us on Twitter.
TikTok-wise, we're most likely going to post those on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Right.
Um,
I think if we tweet something and then whoever retweets it and then follows us,
Yeah.
one of them will win a box of crap sweets.
then we can have a link in the bio on Twitter to the LinkedIn page.
Yeah, that'll do. Are they new crap sweets or are they the same crap sweets? Because they are crap. Them crap sweets.
They are the crap sweets.
Well, I had them before Christmas.
No, they're not them. Oh, rather those
dreadful.
crap. No, I think you had the last of the other crap sweets.
Ooh, they were poor. They were poor quality
These
sweets.
ones are new crap sweets, which they're a little bit more... See, Fiona, as a previous winner, she'll be able to compare the crap sweets and let us know whether or not they're crapper than the previous ones.
That's fair.
Which is,
That's fair.
exactly what we want.
So what we got coming up then?
So, coming up today, we have some news to go through. As always, we've got an interview with Tom the taxi driver, which we'll go into later. Tom is a YouTuber called... Well, his actual name's Tom Hutley, but he goes by Tom the taxi driver.
It's a good channel, that, as well. You should follow it.
Yeah, very
Subscribe.
interesting channel. Yeah, I was quite surprised that a lot of his followers aren't actually in the industry. They're just people who like his videos. Well, I'm surprised that people like his videos. I enjoy his videos thoroughly. And then finally, we're going to round things off with Erin is going to be doing Facts or Bullshit with us. You're going to be in total control. And
Have you
look
put them
very
together?
concerned. No.
So we can't blame you entirely, although we probably will.
Yeah.
I've never done this. Is my first one. You can't blame anything on me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, it's like you haven't met us.
What is... Or have you just switched off the backdrop?
Oh. What was that?
We don't really need it.
We don't need it. It's not on the shot anyway, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, come on.
She's already
Let's get on with this now. I'm sick of talking to you two. Come on, let's do the news.
So I came across a campaign, right? So I was reading Taxi Point, and I feel like the title of this campaign is a little bit edgy. It's the Black Cabs Matter campaign.
I knew you were going to say Black Cabs. I think it's mint, actually. I love that. It's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. Have you seen what they're opening the campaign with?
No.
The tooting and tooting.
Oh, I see.
So at 8 a.m, this is actually tomorrow they're starting this, they're launching the campaign. So at 8 a.m. tomorrow, I think it said about 300 cabbies are going to be tooting in tooting. So basically that is a 1 minute toot at the junction of Tooting Broadway Station. This is becoming one of those things where you're saying a word and I'm just...
You are speaking a lot better than you did last time.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the energy up.
You couldn't speak at all last time.
No, I couldn't. So yeah, they're trying to highlight a series of unfair policies and issues that have faced the industry in recent years. And as much as there has been a lot of unfair policies and issues facing them, the organisers have also promised the first 200 people to arrive, they will get a free McDonald's breakfast. So
that isn't it. I mean, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go.
If
for
we
that.
were down in London, I'd be there.
Tooting in Tooting. I bet the people in Tooting are thinking, why did we move to Tooting?
If I lived in Tooting, I'd just like go and get in a cab and be like, we're going for breakfast.
Yeah. Hash brown on top.
Oh, see, you discovered this recently, didn't you? I mean, I've always been a big advocate of the hash brown on the bacon, of the McDonald's breakfast roll.
It has its pros and cons, though, because...
You have to bite round the hash brown first, and then...
And the whole experience is shorter.
Yeah,
it's a shorter, more euphoric breakfast experience.
Yeah, it's intense.
Hash brown, yeah. It's definitely worth it. Because I get rid of them eggs anyway, because they're crap, aren't they, the McDonald's eggs?
I don't mind the eggs.
They're like baked, aren't they? They're not fried eggs. They're not good eggs. There's no runny egg.
No,
egg yolk.
They are fried. They just pop all the yolks.
Well, that's stupid.
Which is just scandalous.
Yeah, so I get rid of that. I had an extra layer of sausage, an extra bit of cheese, and then my recent discovery is you slam the hash brown on top.
Well, Erin's a pescatarian, so she does not enjoy.
Does that mean you just eat fish?
Yeah. Unlike Sammy, who calls herself a vegetarian, but is actually a pescatarian.
Well, no, I think she is now.
Is she actually a vegetarian?
I was vegetarian, but I went back to pescatarian.
Well, she went the other way. She started as a pescatarian and then said,
I did
Well, what she does is she just watches Netflix documentaries and it just changes her life.
Like Game Changer,
Cowspiracy and stuff like that. And
no,
everyone gives it 6
Been
months.
I've done that.
Yeah,
it's rubbish.
I found Cowspiracy really interesting.
It is interesting,
but it didn't want. I actually watched it whilst having a double cheeseburger. Genuinely,
it's just one of the simple
not out of any kind of irony. I ordered a burger when I was watching, and then it just happened to come in, and I was like, "Oh God, I ain't bad this beef stuff."
Was it because you were already hungry and you'd ordered it and thought I'll stick this documentary on?
That is exactly what happened. Yeah, I'd ordered it.
Documentary, and you thought I could just go.
No. It didn't make me want to eat a burger. It just certainly didn't make me want to stop. And what was the other one? Was it Seaspiracy, which is what I think
that's the one about the fishing.
There's
well, I
think
no
such thing as sustainable fishing.
I think that tipped Sammy from pescatarian.
No, you were the plant for Netflix. Do you just know all the taglines for all these?
I watch a lot on Netflix.
A lot of food-based documentaries.
Food-based documentaries, yeah.
So why are you a veggie? A pescatarian, sorry.
I went vegan first.
Oh, God.
I was vegan. But I was like 14 or 15 and all my mates were going veggie, so I was like, I'll join in. And I looked into
You're like, I'm going to be better than you. You're veggie, I'm a vegan.
Shows the culture difference, isn't it? All my mates were smoking, all her mates were being veggie. Oh, I smoke, all my mates are smoking. Oh, my mates are veggie.
They're all eating grass like the sheep in Wales.
She's allowed to say that because she's Welsh. Before anyone complains, she is Welsh, so she's allowed to say that.
Actually Welsh.
To be fair, when we were at the IOL, the Welsh licensing managers were all making jokes about sheep.
Well, there's a road in Stratford where they hold it called Sheep Street, isn't there? And they loved that.
What?
There's a place called Sheep Street in Stratford.
And they have the IOL conference. You'll be going probably next time.
Yeah.
And they have the sheep with the sheep. The streets with all the pubs on is called Sheep Street, and the Welsh lot loved it.
I probably love that.
Anyway, we were talking about some news then, weren't we?
So back to the news. So the Black Cabs Matter campaign. So they're doing the tooting and tooting to protest against things like congestion, cycle lanes, Sadiq Khan, 63%.
I didn't notice that actually. It goes congestion, lack of customers, cycle lanes, income down, Sadiq Khan.
I do feel like some of these are nothing because they're protesting directly against TfL, I think. And some of these...
Cost of diesel is not
Lack
something
of
they can
customers
really-
generally. I don't think TfL can be held
What?
entirely responsible for that. They may have some impetus somewhere, but cost of diesel also not really TfL's. But the fuel problem is something, so I understand why they're upset about the cost of diesel.
Well, the fuel thing's horrible, and it's affecting everyone. That, but it must be particularly bad for like any kind of motor relies on motor vehicle for their earnings. It's like, is it something like it's the cost if inflation's like a 30-year high or something? I read, isn't it?
Yeah, it's something like that.
I mean, I've noticed it from someone who drives relatively little. I used to fill up like since the lockdown stuff when you don't really leave your house that much anymore. I put 30 quid in probably once every 2 weeks, and that got me 4 times backwards and forwards to the office. Now, oh my god, I put 30 quid in, and by the time I'd driven to the office and home, which is about 20 minutes, 25 minutes each way, I was down to like 180 miles off 30 quid on my range and diesel. And I was
Not
just
great,
like,
is it?
what is going on with that? What's that?
Erin's broken camera.
Why does that keep going?
You know, we've hired Erin as like a professional.
It's full battery. Why does it keep going off though?
Yeah, she's supposed to be filming my beautiful face. Sorry.
So
feral face.
I've noticed the pinch on
After a certain time, it stops.
the petrol stuff. So they must have. I mean, people. How many miles will they do a day? They'll probably do more in a day than I do in a month.
A lot. And I mean, I'm paying the cost of diesel, because that's the thing with black cabs as well. They are all diesel engines.
Yeah, that's so expensive.
And I'm paying, I think it's gone down a little bit now. I'm paying £1.76, 176p a litre.
Well, I remember? I'm old enough to remember when the prices on the billboards outside petrol stations went over 100 pence.
Oh, I remember that.
I remember everyone being in uproar about going from 99.9, whatever it was, to 100.
Yeah, it was that in lockdown.
Oh my god!
My earliest
Now,
memory of petrol prices is about 88p.
Imagine,
Take it for
I'd give
granted,
anything for it to be 100.
And Americans don't understand how good they've got it. They complain about it, and they pay like $1 a gallon or something stupid
They
like
get
that.
people to do it for them.
Oh,
They don't
yeah.
even get out of their cars.
My mate's moved to
I think
America.
that's really strange.
Yeah.
But you can't get out your car. It's like you can't. What we do, they just don't trust Americans, quite rightly, right? Because what we do is we fill up, then we go in, then we pay for what we
No,
filled
they
up
do
with.
it the opposite way
They do it the
round.
opposite way. That you
They
pay,
for the
then
fuel
some guy
first.
comes out and. I mean, to be fair, if you make me pay beforehand, I'd be like, well, go on, then you fill it up. I'm not bothering with it.
Well, yeah.
But apparently you can't do it any other way. You can't, like, just fill it up yourself. Someone has to come out and do it for you.
I'm sure they just bath in petrol. They've just got petrol coming out of everywhere in America. They make their own.
One thing it might do this, though,
Just
is
vegetable oil.
it might drive...
Vegetable oil. Billions of years compacted vegetable oil.
It might drive a lot of cabbies towards electric vehicles. Because
Well-
we talk about that with Tom in the interview coming up, don't we?
Yeah.
The pre-recorded interview. He mentioned it because he's got an electric cab and he talks about it.
Mm.
And they are expensive to buy, by the sounds of how much you still got to pay off on that. But this might tilt a few people over to it on the basis that it's going to cost so much more to run a diesel
Potentially,
cab
yeah.
at the minute.
I did see some... I was reading an article in the Daily Record about the fuel prices going up, and you'll appreciate this. The quote was, instead of buying petrol, why not save money by developing a cocaine habit and running everywhere? And they go on to talk about
Very
someone being
Scottish.
petrol bombed, saying, presumably the police are only questioning local millionaires. Which I thought was funny.
Well, I think in reading this article that anyway about the black cabs matter,
Oh, yeah.
it does. There is an expectation, I think, that the fuel crisis has now peaked, and I think
that's
quoting it
another
from
thing.
John Minshaw, a cabbie from Stoke-on-Trent, in this article is quoted as saying, ultimately, fuel hopefully has now peaked and should drift back down. Should be where we were pre-Christmas in a couple of months. So the expectation, I think, is that it's temporary. I certainly hope so. 'cause
Yeah.
it's
I think everybody
so
hopes so.
destroying watching like how little you get for 30 quid now. I wonder how much it cost to fill up my whole tank. Now, it used to be about 60 quid. I think I'd be pushing 100.
I
at
get
least.
my half a tank for about 25 quid.
And what have you got?
I've got a Vauxhall Corsa.
Of course you have.
No,
What
but
colour?
it's the new one.
A little
not the big
cobalt
one.
blue one.
Not the little one like that.
I used to.
The newest one.
Don't diss that. That was my first car.
My first car.
A
was
2003 Vauxhall Corsa grey.
not that type. Not that's a chap car.
I know. It's all you could afford.
Ryan used to walk around with
Car.
trackies
And
tucked into his
I had a
socks.
little
My
white
insurance. I did
Toyota.
not. That is fake news. That the I used to have Rockports though. The insurance on that was obscene.
Yeah,
it was
I
like
can imagine.
1,600
Yeah,
quid a year.
because they know that you're going to crash it.
No, it was a 1 litre
For
Corsa.
boys though, it's more
It's
money,
scandalous.
'cause they don't
Yeah,
trust them.
it was that was the skintest I've ever been paying for that
I had
car.
a Toyota
It's not been long
Aygo.
since I bought my first car. My Renault
I know.
Grand Scenic, 1.5 litre.
He does
Beauty.
he does every. I could not wait to start driving. I
No,
could
me
not
neither.
wait to start driving my car. He was happy to be a bus
You passed
W.
first time.
Yeah, of course I
Yeah.
did.
Cost me about
Of course
75
I
quid
Did
to
you
fill
pass
my
first
time.
time?
Yeah.
How many minors?
One.
Oh, bollocks.
Yeah.
That's not. I don't think that's true. Nobody gets one. I got 4, and I thought that was buzzing.
I passed second time with like 3 minors.
It doesn't matter how many minors you got if you pass second time.
Yeah.
What did you fail on first time?
I can't even remember.
That means it's something bad.
Oh no! Oh no! This really wound me up actually. Oh, it was...
Not,
So
that's not
basically,
like
in
you.
Skipton, where I did my test,
Why
there was
did
a
you do your
road
test in Skipton?
because it's easier than passing in Blackburn because Blackburn's got one of the lowest rates in the country, pass rates.
Oh, so you went for an easy one and still failed. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But what it was, they were building a new roundabout on the outskirts of Skipton, and I was driving down the road. And normally, if you're going straight on a roundabout, you go in the left-hand lane, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's specifically marked, yes, which is what I failed on.
Oh, well, that's
But
your
the
own
thing
stupid
is,
fault, then, isn't it?
You can't go. The road to go left hadn't been built.
Was it signposted?
It was signposted.
Well, then
Well, there
you
was
were
no
right.
signs, but it was on the pavement. It was on the road.
Well,
there
then
were no signs.
You were
Yes.
rightly failed.
Yeah.
That's why. This is exactly why some idiot pulled out in front of me and I ended up crashing during the week because they were in the wrong lane, even though it says that it's a left lane only here.
I've
They
never
were in the
done
wrong
it
lane. They
since.
pulled straight in front of me. I stopped. Bang! Someone hit back of me, and then they toddled off into the distance and got home and had the tea. I bet you were like, "Oh, well, what happened? Did something just happen?" Oh, never mind. While I'm there talking to a van man about his bumper hanging off.
What van? You said it was a new van. What was it?
What make?
Mm.
Like a Fiat, something.
Nothing-
It was bad as well because it had there was more damage on his than mine. My back bumper just sort of
Just bounced
come
off.
away a little bit.
Yeah,
There's a
just-
bit of scratching on the back. His number plate came off. It's pushed his whole bonnet back and out, so there's gaps at the side. It's pushed the side panels back, so every time he opens the door, it goes coo, coo every time he opens it. I felt really sorry for him. He was a really nice guy as well, and he was like, "It's not my fault. This is." I went, "It isn't, but it is."
Oh,
Go by the law, it is.
God.
Because technically, what they'd say is you should have left enough room for an emergency stop, but. You're on when you're going onto a motorway slip road as well. You are instantly going to speed up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So I wish I had a dash cam. I'd have submitted it to one of those Facebook pages. You know, they all argue.
Well, you'd been able to send it to the police, and they would.
But I still don't know whether it would be their fault though, because it would still they would still say you should leave enough room for a car to emergency stop in front of you.
Yeah, but if she was in the
space in front of you.
Well, no, because he pulled straight out, but I didn't.
Well,
hit him.
it's their fault. Then,
Yeah, but
because
the person behind should still be expecting me to make or have enough room for me to make an emergency stop, is what the law says.
But even the person behind you should have done that too.
So I stopped
That's a
in
tricky
time,
one.
but he didn't
Yeah, it's
stop
just a
in
bit of a
time.
mess.
Yeah.
To be honest, I saw him coming as well. Otherwise, I would have hit him. I thought, I bet they're going to come over in a minute. So I was sort of ready for slamming on. Whereas obviously he was coming round and not seeing what I was seeing.
Yeah.
There was nothing he could have done. The fella, he could have been the best driver in the world, and he is still. And to be fair, he did well to slow down as much as he did. Like the
This is nice,
airbags
though.
didn't go
Could
off.
have been horrible, and
Yeah, could have been worse. But the person was just got home scot free, and it winds me up.
Yeah.
That they just toddled off up the motorway while I'm there. Going up the inside lane really slowly because there was no hard shoulder on the A56 either. So I
God.
didn't want to just stop on the lane
Yeah.
because I hate when people do that. I'm like, why do you just come off at the next junction? Unless your car's ripped apart, get off the bypass and let us all get home, is what I say.
Well, I think you get in trouble for that, don't you?
Well, I don't really know what the rules are now. I don't know. But yeah, anyway. What were we saying? This happens all the
Fuel
time.
prices. I've forgotten. Oh, well, the fuel price thing is actually leading to fare price increases across the country.
Well, it's always going to, isn't it? Because they
Yeah,
have
but
to
it's
make
taking time.
money.
And that's the thing. Historically, licensing authorities have been a bit resistant to putting prices up, even though they've called for it in the past, particularly during the pandemic when there was less customers.
Yeah, so Hackney fares they'll have to set, won't they? So they'll have to the council will have to increase fares. Uber can set whatever prices they want to, and they're having to increase it anyway, aren't they? Oh, any private hire, sorry, not just Uber. Now, I did read that they're upping their prices now for the VAT, aren't they, as well?
20% they're going up because of the ruling from the High Court.
Uber previously took cut of 25 pence, I think that is, per... What does that mean? What's 25 PC per customer?
I think so.
Well, anyway, they're having to up it now.
Yeah, it's because before they were classed as self-employed drivers, isn't it? Whereas now they've got to take the VAT into
But
consideration.
it's always going to come back to us, and it probably should. Yeah, they've got to make money, haven't they? These people. But the fare, are the Hackney fares going up though now?
I'm not sure, but I know Uber have been very keen because they've made the change to their model and they're going to have to put up their prices. They've been very keen to push because the High Court's only ruled in London. So all the operators in London are going to have to add this 20% on. But now Uber have filed.
Well, a lot of operators in London already treat them as employees, though, don't they?
Yeah, I don't think it's the employee. I think it's something slightly different. I can't quite remember what it is.
Yeah, but they'll now be subject to income tax and all this other stuff now that
Yeah,
they weren't subject to before.
But it was just in London, but Uber have now filed to a court to ask them to clarify whether the High Court decision applies to every operator in the UK, which...
They're always torching the court. There'll always be a court case going on.
They love it.
The prices are already going up, actually. My sister's fella flew over for a wedding we were at last weekend, and he arrived in Manchester really, really late, so my mum and dad couldn't pick him up like they planned. And he priced up an Uber to get from Manchester to Stoke, which is about an hour and a bit.
Yeah.
And he said it was cheaper to just go to the desk in the airport and book a taxi through there.
Wow.
Now, it would never have been cheaper to do that
No.
2-3 years ago. So it looks like the price increase is starting.
Mm.
To be fair, I never really had that much experience of Uber being cheap.
I did. Do you use Uber?
Yeah, a lot in Manchester.
I would always get it home from Manchester in an
Yeah.
Uber typically because
Yeah.
it was cheaper than a black cab. Now there's not that much in it, if anything. And it depends what size car you get. If you get a normal saloon car, this is
Yeah.
what Tom, the
so
taxi driver,
you
talks
can
about
get
in one of his
green
things.
cars as well now, which are a bit more expensive, which are more, must be electric cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And when I'm hammered and I want to go home, quite frankly, I don't give a shit about the environment.
I'll go for
No, it's not about that.
No,
Thing.
but I'd go for an Uber if I was on my way home from a night out. Just because
I
it's on my
usually
phone, it's so accessible.
And it used to be
Whereas
it used to be cheaper.
I've never hailed down a cab in Manchester.
Well, I always used to find you had to enter like negotiations with a cabbie, like how many drops,
Yeah.
and then you'd be like, and they go how much, and then you'd end up arguing. Uber is like, this is what the price is, take it or leave it, and it used to be cheaper, but it's not anymore. So we
or you'd have to like pre-book a cab at a certain time.
And
I
half the
hate
time they
doing
don't
that.
bloody turn
I
up
hate
anyway.
they're never there on
that.
time, and sometimes you forget, and you're like, oh shit,
You don't know
we've got to
where
go
you've
and get
gotta
to
go. Yeah.
and then you never know where the
It's-
parts are.
You're always anticipating it, aren't you?
Mm.
You know. Yeah.
Can't relax.
Mm.
But final bit of news before we move on to the interview. It's just an honorary mention because we kept bringing it up and it's come back. But it's about the Plymouth livery changes, the green and white. They're looking very snazzy on the new cabs.
Well, see, I got in trouble last time because I said I liked them, and then everybody in Plymouth hated the idea. So I was like,
Well, this is what the council have backed down, essentially. Well, they've not backed down.
Lovely.
Councils have determined that the changes are going to be rolled out over the next 5 years to give drivers a chance to recover from the pandemic, which I think is a perfectly reasonable decision to make because they wanted to bring it in quite quickly, which I think this is more than what they needed, more than fair.
Yeah, I mean, they do look very pretty.
They do look very
But
pretty.
we'll let them off with that. I think this leads on nicely to something that I was going to mention as well, is the
Go on.
new DFT, what are they calling it?
Oh, the new best practice consultation.
Best Practice Guidance Consultation. Yeah, and there's obviously a number of topics that they're releasing to consultation to the trade at the minute.
Yeah.
I was actually called by Des Broster, who was a guest on the podcast a few months ago.
Regional Director of VSU.
Of VSU, yeah, and he mentioned it. And basically, one of the things that he picked up on, which I think is an interesting part of this and could be quite controversial, is there's a section on Section 8 of the Vehicle Licensing, Identification and Signage. And the gist of it is that they want to make Hackney carriages more identifiable from private hires through their signage. Now, technically,
Which
at the
I think
minute,
that's
the
fair
Hackney
enough.
carriages are the ones that you weigh about.
Mhm.
Private hires are the ones that you book.
Right.
And anything that has taxi roof sign is a Hackney. Private hires can't have taxi roof signs.
Yeah.
Now, the obviously the risk. I mean, what my view on this is, because how they've worded it is that there are a number of factors to consider in relation to vehicle signage and identification, safety, competition, commercial arguments, and the fact that there are a wide variety of approaches by licensing authorities. So, like livery, for example, being one. The government's view is that safety should be the prime consideration, which I agree with as well. So that the risk. I mean, I agree with the idea that private hires and Hackneys should be distinguishable.
Yeah.
And there's no disagreement from me in making them more distinguishable than they currently are, because you get it quite a lot, don't you, where you sometimes go up to a car and go, can I just jump in, and they go, no, you need to book.
Yeah.
So making that clear, fine. What it can't be at the expense of, though, is private hires being identifiable in their own right, because what that opens up to is people, predators, posing as private hire cars because there's so little signage on them.
Right.
So I think the that was sort of the and I'm sure Des will correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that was the vibe that Des was coming from. Is there a public safety risk here?
Because it should be about making one more identifiable, not necessarily making the other one less so.
Exactly.
But
that's what you can't do.
It's like with private hires, they only have a small sign on the door, don't they? They don't have the taxi thing.
Well, they can't have the taxi thing. They can't have the roof sign. They've obviously got to have the plate on the back. But I mean, I don't see why you can't. I mean, what Manchester do is every private hire vehicle that works for an operator has to have their yellow
logo.
sign, the yellow sign.
Yeah,
so you notice every private hire has a yellow sign. It will say Uber, it will say Streetcars, it will say Betty's Taxis or whoever it is.
Yeah.
But that's just a Manchester rule.
Right.
So some don't have any rules around library for private hire.
The sort of thing that should be the national minimum standards, something like that.
I think there needs to be something. I think there should be a sign on. I mean, it could be that you have different roof signs. One says taxi, one says PHV, or something like that. One's red, one's yellow. I don't know, but what it can't be at is making private hire vehicles less identifiable.
It's the same in like places like New York, isn't it? You know, they have the yellow taxi cabs and then Ubers have the Uber sign. It's as easy as that.
Yeah, when you go to Dusseldorf, I go to Dusseldorf quite a lot. The taxis there are brilliant because they're all exactly the same colour. They're all pretty much the same car. They're not a very nice colour actually, like a beige colour, which is probably so nobody gets it. And they all have the sign on the top. It's green if it's free, and it's red if it's not. So you see them and you go, "Oh, there's a taxi there." Oh, it's red. So you ignore it. No confusion. Is that a taxi? Is it not a taxi?
Exactly.
So I think if you make something like that, which I think is probably what Plymouth are going for.
Yeah, because I mean, that's exactly what they said in one of the early things. No one's
there's no problem with Ubers because you order it yourself, whereas taxis, there is that complication.
And it would make it easy to see if a private hire was plying for hire illegally, because you'd be able to identify that's a private hire car, not a Hackney.
Yeah.
So I think that's the better way of doing it. Don't want to film you that, JP.
No, I'm not surprised. It's probably breaking it.
But what they talk about as well here is they say requirement to display operator details means at best that the drivers would need to carry multiple sets of magnetic signs and at worst replace adhesive stickers multiple times if they work for multiple operators.
You have to redo that bit.
Which is true.
I just missed that.
This is a production masterclass, isn't it? But this has gone out to consultation, so it'd be interesting to see what the trade think about it. I suspect Hackneys probably won't mind because all that's going to happen is that they become more identifiable as a Hackney.
Yeah, it makes no difference.
Operators will probably not like it. Well, Des certainly didn't. And I'll be interested to see what licensing authorities think about it as well, because they're the ones that ultimately have to enforce when things aren't going well. And is it going to make their life as enforcement officers harder if they can't tell what cars are bloody private hire vehicles or just people in?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be interested to see what they say. There's a number of things that are out, like there's age limit consultations as well. A requirement for a vehicle to be 3 years old or less at first licence. Again, that's quite
controversial.
It's quite young, that, a 3-year-old car.
3-year-old car.
And again, you're adding more expense.
Because I'm not being funny, it's one of those things, I mean, you can earn good money as a taxi driver, but new cars these days, if you want something that fits all the requirements of a taxi, you're looking at paying at least 15 grand.
Well, for the electric ones, the more. But for anything that's under 3 years old, for a car that's going to meet the licensing authorities' standards of size, of spec, you can't just get yourself a bloody Ford KA or something and expect to be a taxi in it. So you are just spiralling the prices up. And there's a number of things that they actually the question in the licensing side of it as well. So driver proficiency, do they agree? One of the questions is, do you agree that licensing authorities should require taxi and private hire vehicle drivers as professional drivers to evidence a higher degree of driving ability than private motorists? That's one example. As professional drivers, should you? Vocational training and assessments. Do you agree that licensing authorities should not require drivers to obtain vocational qualifications? Topographical knowledge tests. Again, that's a question that's been circulating for a while.
We've spoken about that before. I think knowledge tests are needed to a degree.
We mentioned this in the interview with Tom that will come after this, so we won't encroach on that too much. But the argument is with topographical tests in particular, which is the how do you get from A to B stuff, is with sat-navs nowadays, are they necessary?
Yeah.
And I can see the argument for no. I mean, I personally think if you should have a decent knowledge. I mean, for example, if you're driving somewhere and the traffic's busy, you don't just want
Could you
a
know
driver that's
the
following
way
the sat nav.
around?
Can you find another
Yeah,
way
I can
around?
follow a sat nav.
At the same time, though, I think more people would want to be a cabbie if they didn't have. If they just had
If there was less to do.
You get more cabbies, but would the quality then be diluted?
Yeah,
because
of-
they don't want to.
yeah.
I mean, and there's more to knowledge test than just the topographical side of things as well. Like I think there should be a standard of
Like
safeguarding,
a taxi MVQ.
like a taxi policy. Do they know what they can and can't do? Sometimes English language tests are required by
Yeah.
licensing authorities. Because I mean, I've had instances in the past where I've got in a taxi and the guy can't speak English, and it becomes very difficult to actually get yourself anywhere. I've had one guy try to head in completely the wrong direction, thinking I'd said a different town to where I was, and I was like, "Where are you going?" And so I get that there is a need probably for some level of assessment. It's just whether the A to B, the how do you get from this place to that place in that area is something that should be necessary on all of them. Certainly, I think it should be on Hackneys. I think if you're going to be able to pick people up that are waving at you from the pavement, you need to be able to know where you're going. So there's a number of questions on this, and I'd be interested to see if anyone wants to, tweet us or send us an email. We'll happily read out some of the comments on this in the next episode. But I'd like to just get a vibe from the industry about what they think about this consultation, because they are asking a lot of questions about a lot of things.
Yeah, and it's been asked for a lot of years. Last best practice guidance, what was that, 2010? So 12 years.
Well, this is just a consultation on some of the guidance stuff, so it's not necessarily setting anything in stone yet.
Yeah,
but it's going through all sorts: taxi rank provisions, bylaws for Hackney carriages, staying safe, guidance for taxi drivers, all sorts of stuff. And it's just basically asking for taxi drivers to comment. So I think it's if you're a taxi and private hire driver or an operator. And you're listening to
anyone,
this, then you can respond. The consultation began on the 28th of March and runs until the 20th of June. So you've got plenty of time to put together some consultations. I'm sure the big operators will be putting the responses together. Licensing authorities certainly will. But yeah, if you want to, there's online surveys and response forms that you can download as well from the Gov website. So we'll share that. As I assume as part of this episode. But yeah, if anyone wants to email in or tweet us, we'll happily read anything out.
Yeah, so tweet us out our new Twitter handle, which is what, Erin? So testing
on my
you.
phone.
It's at Taxi Podcast. How did we?
It's not that, is it?
What time are you on till? At Taxi Podcast.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. So tweet us to at Taxi Podcast.
You thought of that?
Did I?
Yeah, you did. So you can't say.
I came up with the handle. And
We've only got
forgot
2 followers at the minute. One of them is Rachel Bishop, who was the guest last time, and the other is us.
I don't even.
So we want to expand that by
Please
next time.
Give us a follow.
So give us a follow and tweet us what you think on any of the things that we've discussed.
Yeah,
But
we'll actually have some decent content on there as well. We'll get some videos on, and I promise it won't just be me being grumpy. Although a lot of it will just be me being grumpy.
And can we ask you to commit to having a haircut from the next episode?
Yeah,
Hello.
I do.
Is that
I do
something
want
you
a
get?
haircut.
How many followers? Then JP.
Yeah,
God.
this is a good idea. Then let's
Yeah,
make
so there's an opportunity to win some crap sweets, but if we get 3,000 followers by the next episode,
3,000. We
episode.
can't be waiting 3,000 for your next
No.
haircut.
we've got
5
3,000
followers.
regular listeners.
I was thinking 15.
15 followers.
15 followers.
15.
No, I was going to do something. I will have a haircut anyway.
Well, why
If
don't
we have,
why don't we do something
what?
a bit mad then? If we get to 100 followers,
Yeah.
will you dye your hair what time you want till yellow?
No, because we have 3,500 regular listeners.
Why don't you shave your head then?
If we get 3,000 followers
You'll shave your head.
in the next month, I will shave.
No,
mine.
hang on, that's ridiculous. Is that doable?
Right. Is that how many do we have on? We have 3,000 followers listening.
Yeah, so they're not all going to follow.
It needs to be less than that.
Well, it depends how much they want to see him looking like an
Yeah.
egg.
Oh, exactly. It's a challenge for Erin, really. Get some content out of me.
No, it's got to be less than. What about 1,500? 1,500.
Yeah, I feel like
Alright then.
1,500's.
But it can't just be in the next month. When we get to the 1,500
No,
mark,
not just because that.
you need. No, that's what I mean. Let me finish. Don't rush me. If you have 1,500 in a month, you shave your head. If we just get to if we don't hit the month, as soon as we get to 1,500, you got to do something else, a bit less aggressive than that, because we still want them to follow after
Yeah,
this month.
you've got to
No, we can do something else next month.
gradually
Well,
do. Well, maybe you should do one.
Or do you
and
dye
should do
your
one.
beard?
I'm not dyeing my beard.
Why? You clearly look at this. You clearly do not care about your appearance at the minute. So why are you so bothered about this?
I like my beard.
Wear a t-shirt with
My
no
beard
holes in
is
it.
the source of all my masculinity.
Ridiculous suggestion, Erin. I think you should dye it like teal. Taxi plus teal.
You can do one for 1,500 and then you can do something for the...
No.
Yeah.
I care about...
This is why I'm reluctant.
I actually care about my
but you don't
piercing.
have to
Which is
that-
why it's funnier.
You don't have to do anything to your hair. You can
He's
do
there.
anything.
Look at him. He looks like we found him under a bridge. He's got like ridiculous hair. He's got holes in his clothes. What happened to the man? What happened to the man?
A makeover for one of the videos.
Yeah, that's what we do. We could pay for a professional to come in and do
his
like.
neck.
I tell you what we could do. They could do his eyebrows. We could thread his eyebrows.
Yes, right.
Hey, you look like Joey Tribbiani or Friends when he gets his eyebrows done.
fit.
Yeah, we'll give you a makeover.
Yeah, 1,500 then. Get us 1,500 followers and JP will have horrendous things done to him. And that's at Taxi Podcast is what you need to follow. So make sure you do, and we want to see what JP comes out like.
Right, so then moving on from the horrendous things that will potentially be done to me.
Still look better than you do now.
You're horrible to me. We've got an interview this week, which was done remotely. We've alluded to this a couple of times already. So I've interviewed this was with let me start that again. Our interview this week is with the one and only Tom Hutley, who is cab driver and
The one and only Tom. Come on, you can't do that.
what?
That's ridiculous. You can't say the one and only Tom Hutley.
I could say it like that if you
Just
want.
call him Tom. Just Tom the taxi driver.
The one and only.
The one and
Tom,
only.
the taxi driver.
He's not the one and only Tom the taxi driver.
Erin,
as well.
see,
He says
she
that
doesn't-
himself. There will be another Tom who is a taxi driver.
No, but like the one that
And-
does the social media. And
But he
the
just sounded like a gimp then when he did that.
YouTube star. Tom the taxi driver.
I was actually going to say YouTuber extraordinaire.
That's fine,
Yeah,
do that,
that's
but
fine,
not the
because that-
one and only.
But you're horrible. I do nothing. I come into work.
You can't. We
I
couldn't
just
use
get
that.
abused.
We couldn't have used that. The one and only.
hadn't
Not like
finished
his,
my
not like his
sentence.
Beyonce.
Look, I think the tables have turned now. JP's not the one bullying.
Talking like
us.
it's
always
Frank
happens.
Sinatra. The one and only.
This is the other way around.
The one and only.
You're my one and only.
No,
We did
no
mention
singing.
we did mention him actually, didn't we, Tom the taxi driver on a previous podcast. We mentioned one of his videos, didn't we? The Uber one where he did the
because he did
comparison.
So Tom Hutley, not the one and only. I'm not allowed to call him the one and only. Tom, I'm sorry. Is a YouTuber and cabbie who runs a channel called Tom the Taxi Driver. Imaginative name, as he admits himself. So he creates
So
a
he's
range.
even been mean to guests now.
He said it himself.
So people can take the mick out themselves.
Well, I
mean, you
feel-
can pile on.
That's what I'm doing.
That's just,
It's a very straight to the point name. I like
Can I
it.
finish my introduction now?
Well, if it's-
What are you squeaking
God, have you
for?
written this? Have you planned this?
I have written. That's because I didn't expect to have 4 or 5 interruptions.
Well, the first one, you
throughout.
started doing Morse code half the way through it. Then you went, the one and only.
The one and only Tom Hutley, cab driver and YouTuber
Right,
extraordinaire.
introduce it properly.
Right, so I'm going to be very
I'm going to walk out in a minute. I'm,
Right, so we've interviewed a guy called Tom. He's a taxi driver. Right.
dear.
Right. This guy.
Oh dear, exactly, Erin. What
Honest
have you
to
got yourself
goodness.
into? You're going to have to edit
Get
this.
a grip.
Oh, wow.
Pull yourself together, JP.
Right, so we've interviewed Tom the taxi driver this week. Cab driver and YouTuber. He runs a channel where he does a lot of video content, which is always really informative and a joy to watch. Any comments on that, Ryan?
No, that was fine. Yeah, that was
nothing
fine.
wrong with
Nothing
that?
ridiculous in that one.
We actually interviewed Tom last week, but with the power of editing, Erin, our producer, is going to just seamlessly drop us into the interview now, and it will be like nothing has changed, but suddenly Tom will join us. Yeah. So then we'll have a break here, and then... Right, so yeah, we really enjoyed having Tom on. It was a great interview. It was good to get some insights from him, and we mentioned to him we might actually go down to London at some point and use him in some other content, so we'd be quite excited to do that. Can't remember if you actually told him that, but Tom, if you're listening, we're going to use you for more content if you're happy to do so.
It's a good channel, so everyone should watch it. There's lots of like taxi-related content, obviously, but there's also some sort of London tour guidey vibes to it as well.
Yeah,
so
it is really good stuff.
It is good, and he's obviously puts a lot of effort into his videos. They're good quality.
I think he might put more effort in than we put into.
Yeah. But no, everyone go over to Tom the Taxi Driver and subscribe on YouTube. It'd be well worth it. There's lots of good videos on there, and I thought it was a really good interview. It was interesting to hear how he got into it. So
we've not had any cabbies on before, so it was quite good to get some insights directly from people.